Hey guys, hey, I know it's been a while, but with the new baby and shit, things have been kind of hectic, so I haven't really had time to do anything as far as woodworking or anything like that. But I want to throw up a really quick video. My boss has recently purchased a new house the last couple of months. We've been doing a bunch of little shit to it and working the grounds and so on and so forth, but I've actually started now to really do the rehabbing. As you can see above my head, those are the existing beams. The house was built somewhere in the mid to late 1790s, so it's all post and beam. It's all old wooden peg. I mean, this is the basic backbone of old American architecture. I mean, this house is about as old and as rustic as you can get. Everything's wood. Everything is wood. I'll pan a little bit. I'm kind of in what used to be what you'd call the carriage house. This is where we had to start the modifications. We had some sill rot. The foundation is not anything like any of your guys' houses for the most part. It was all original, flat rock, stack them up, get as level as you could, set a big old beam on it, and there she sat. Well, unfortunately, that worked for about probably the first 150, 175 years. I'll kind of pan a little bit so you can see behind my head. I don't know how well you can see that, but basically what we had to do here is I had to make new beams, okay? So here's your old beam right here, okay? This is roughly an 8x8, and then right here we've got new 6x6. And what we had to do some modifications. This was all rotten down here, so we had to cut that off, notch into it, make a new piece, set it in, glue it, use some architectural screws, lag it all together. Had to rebuild roughly about 18 feet of the sill. I had a 12-footer that I had to put in, notch it, glue it, tie it all together. You'll notice the beam is jet black, and that's because we had a gentleman working with us. He's done this quite a bit. When you replace a sill, you tar it, and then you plastic it. It'll help preserve it. The biggest problem why we had so much rot is back in the day, of course, you did as little digging as possible. If you had a 5-ton rock, you didn't just go out, grab your excavator, pick her up, move her over, and set her down. You either moved it if you had to, but if you could get away with not, well, guess what? Sat under your house, you built the floor up over it, called it a day. That's what they did. Well, unfortunately, they didn't dig if they didn't have to, so a lot of this house in this back corner, right over yonder, below that door, sitting right on the ground. They didn't have PT, they didn't have tar or any of that shit, and if they did, they used it minorly because they didn't make it in the quantity we do nowadays. So we took the beams, we tarred them, we wrapped them in plastic, set them underneath. Before I go much further, this is the oldest house I've ever touched to date, by far. Never touched anything in the 1700s before. The oldest I've worked on is about 1840, 1845. So this is really neat. This is like once, maybe twice in a lifetime, and I'm rehabbing this entire thing. At least 2 bathrooms are getting redone completely. One of the bathrooms was probably put in 80s. It's pretty modern. The other one was put in like the 50s. That one needs some work. What's cool though is the floor in this room is original to the house, and then every room otherwise, there is no carpet in this place. Everything is hardwood floors, everything, and everything's a different size, which is really neat. Some of it's more modern, it's old, it's newer tongue and groove and stuff, and then some of it's like real old. If you go into the living room, it's like 8 to 10 inch wide plank with countersunk holes by hand, screwed or nailed down depending on what they use. I'm not sure yet, and then they pegged on top of it, so it's really neat. But as we go further, my boss has taken a bunch of videos and stuff that he's done, and what I'm going to go through is I'm going to go through and just snapshot different pictures so you can see the levels we've gone through. To get to this point, we're already into it about 4 days. It took a full day just to prep. Well, actually, it took a full day just to prep to get everything in. It took another almost 2/3 to 3/4 of a day to actually put everything in, set the pumps. And we had to lift it with 3 bottle jacks, and I used 3 lully columns as a backup. Had to build I'll kind of show you the beams here. Those are 20-foot LVLs, and there's 2 of them. We took those, lagged them all together, put a 2x6 on top of them, lagged down into that so it didn't have any like tip factor. It had a big wide plate on top. Tied it up into the ceiling as little as possible. I want to put as few holes in this building as possible because, like I said, beams are original. Actually, I'll kind of show you. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it because the lighting's kind of here and there. But if you look at this beam, this closest one exposed, you can actually still see the old bark on it. They literally just took a tree, shimmed one side off, or not shimmed, but, you know, cut it off, cut it flat, kind of tailed both ends of it, set it down. This whole building's pressure set. It's going to be an adventure. There's a lot of stuff in here where you think it's tied together. We went to lift right up in that area. When we actually went to lift it, we didn't lift the wall. We lifted the ceiling off the wall, and the wall just kind of sat there. Then we had to get underneath the sill with a separate set of pump jacks and lifted that up. So it's going to be an adventure. It's going to be difficult too. Hiding all the wiring and stuff. In a normal house, you can just drill through studs. Not so much a case. This building's too old. I can't drill through any of these main beams. They're not. It's not like when they first put them in, I could have drilled through holes and shit and we'd all be fine. It doesn't work like that anymore. I'm going to have to build boxes out of trim board without making them look too weird and chase my wires through that and then hide them down into the sheetrock, or we're going to put some barred mortar in. But unfortunately, because you got hardwood floors, hardwood ceilings, you can only put so much wood look in here. You actually have to modernize it a little bit in order for it to not seem overwhelming. You want that log cabin look, but it's going to get to a point where there's too much grain going on and you need some simplistic color. We'll get there eventually. This is not going to be a small project. We're talking 3, 4, 5 months of work. And that's just inside. Forget what's going on outside. He's had a whole bunch of it logged. Used to be old farmland. Well, unfortunately, over the last, we'll say 100 years or so, it slowly just got away from the previous owners. And they just didn't keep it up. It was too much. They didn't use it for what it was intended for. I mean, I'll kind of show you a view out that window there. I don't know how well you can see it, but there's a rock wall. If you go down like another 500-600 feet or better, we'll say about 300 yards, there's another rock wall. You go down another 300 to 350 yards, there's another rock wall, and that rock wall runs all the way down the road to the corner. All farmland. There's rock walls everywhere. They're all natural. They're all original. So he opened it back up. He's going to pop all the stumps, grade it, clear it, get gas to grow, and he's actually going to use it for farm purposes, which is really cool. But anyways, like I said, I'll show you little bits here and there. But yeah, I know I haven't been on here much, but I figured I'd show this. Like I said, my boss has been taking videos of this over time. This house has gone through a lot of changes. Some of it has been done the right way. Some of it hasn't. So we're going to go through and be finding a lot of problems. We're going to try to modernize it and keep it looking original at the same time. It's going to be really fun. Real pain in the ass, but it's going to be really fun. And just to go to show you how old this house is, that's how they connected walls back in the day. Made a notch, made a tab on the other side, slid it in, put a peg. Most of the time, if they didn't think it was holding structure, they didn't put a peg in it. They just set it, left it, and it stayed there so far. These cross members right here coming down to the 45, those are just sitting there. They have nothing tying them. There's not so much as a freaking 2-inch finish nail in that shit. It is just sitting there. So, but anyways, as we go through, if I see something cool, I'll take quick pictures out. I'm not going to be able to make videos all the time because time is of the essence. But until next time, we'll talk to you guys.